Traders for a Cause Chicago is brought to you by Centerpoint Securities. Learn more at centerpointsecurities.com. On this episode of the Traders for a Cause podcast.
Zach, pleasure having you in Chicago. Little come by for my Japanese fans out there.
We've talked in the past about trying to be 1% better every day. Can you talk about what that means to you and how you implement that in your life? Oh my God.
If that breaks above 20 bucks, you need to get the hell out of that. I host these competitions around the country to
We're here in Millennium Park, in the home of Garrett Popcorn, Deep Dish Pizza, and the Bears. This is Traders for a Cause, Chicago. Portillo's is a Chicago tradition since 1963. And I'm here with Lance. We're gonna try some hot dogs. What else is there here?
anytime anybody visits me, it's a must go. So we're gonna hook Zach up with some Chicago dogs, a nice dipped Italian beef with the provolone, the cheese fries, and we're gonna get you feeling good today.
Oh, can't wait, let's do this. And let's just split everything.
Oh, of course.
I just killed some eggs Benedict.
The off camera, Zach's just like puking 7 times. Can we do a Chicago dog, Maxwell Street Polish, dipped beef, and then a cheese fry? And so, generally, their little gimmick too is as they're calling out the numbers, they try and rhyme them all and stuff. It's just like fun.
61, your order is done. 63, can you see me?
Little Zachy's in for a treat.
That's the Polish?
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
This reminds me of my ex-husband. No, I'm just kidding. This is actually one of my favorite hangover foods. Where it's like if you're dead on a Saturday, nothing better than the cheese fries and the beef we're about to have and the dogs. These crinkle cut fries are so good.
Thebomb.com. All right, that's the first thing we rate. It tastes like a crinkle cut fry with dipped in cheese. Chicago dog?
Yep, so our Chicago dog, we got our sesame seed bun, the sport peppers, tomato, pickle, no ketchup. We got to do it as Chicagoans do. And we got the neon relish.
It's neon relish.
Neon relish.
Okay, I'm a little scared. Let's try this.
One bite, everybody knows the rules.
Bro, that's really good. I was a skeptic.
It's such a good.
I didn't know what to expect. That is really good.
It's such a good combo of everything that I actually think the Maxwell Street Polish is even better. We got the grilled onions, the mustard. I mean, this is probably my favorite, I think.
It's like a kielbasa.
Oh yeah,
right.
Polish sausage. You can eat that all day before a football game or something. Oh, perfect.
It's legit.
I mean, what's cool about the Chicago dog is you have the snappiness of the little sport peppers and the pickle. It's a lot of flavors going on. But I love, with the Polish, charred dog, I always love grilled onions. So I end up probably favoring the Polish over the Chicago.
It has a bit of a snap. This is a more traditional hot dog texture. It's a more rich, it's a more dense, rich flavor. This has a lot more of that fresh crisp with the vegetables and stuff on it.
That's how you know
flavor.
we're being healthy.
Yeah.
We got our veggies in for the day.
More going on. I think I actually like this a little bit more because it's different. I mean, this tastes like a good kielbasa sandwich with grilled onions. You know what I mean? And I guess I'm giving this the nod because it's different. A lot different from what I've had before.
I respect it. We spoke our truths, and I think now we have to move on to the beef.
Let's do it.
This is a monster. And I think anybody that knows what they're doing will order it dipped, where they dip it in the au jus.
Okay.
You have the melted, we got melted mozzarella on this one, and hot peppers.
There we go.
Love it. Nicely seasoned. I love when just the bread is soft from all the gravy. It's the best. Little kick from the hot peppers.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of like a really classy Arby's. You know, it's like that just really thinly shaped. Like a really
Is
thinly
there such thing as a classy Arby's?
I guess it depends how you look at it.
So now that you've had the full spectrum, we got you the Chicago dog, the Polish, the cheese fries, the beef. Only thing missing is the cake shake, but you know, we're on a diet, right? And
Cake shake.
so what do you think? Because I think I view deep dish and kind of like Portillo's as kind of like the staples when I have a tourist.
Right. I'm a fan. I mean, I don't think I could eat this every day, but this is
Your cardiologist would also advise against it.
also advise against it. Yes, I think I'll be back here when I come back to Chicago.
I think I'll be back here later today.
It's funny. It looks green even when it's not dyed.
Oh, that's just pollution. Oh, I know.
Lance, thanks for having us out on your beautiful chartered boat here this morning. Beautiful, beautiful day in Chicago.
We got so lucky. You can't beat this weather.
Unbelievable, man. It's nicer here than it is at home. And usually it's windy and cold here, no?
Yes, only 11 months of the year though.
I guess we got lucky then.
Yeah.
We had a 1 in 12 chance, right?
The trading gods are shining down upon us.
Well, I'm really excited for our event today, raising money for Strides for Peace in Chicago here. Wanted to talk a little bit about your upbringing and, you know, how charity became so important to you. So tell me a little bit about growing up. Where are you from?
Sure, I was born in New York City. Crime there was pretty bad, so we did a brief stint in Arizona, but then ended up in New Jersey, right outside the city. And so I would say, like, both my parents were hardworking, and especially my dad was really working long hours. And I think a lot of that modeled to me, like, just work ethic and everything else. But it also sent the message to me of, like, you know, because I would say we were middle class, maybe upper middle class, but the fake kind where you couldn't actually afford, you know, to sustain that lifestyle. And so, like, money was always an issue. You were always worrying about that stuff. And especially post 2008, when I was in school, kind of that became very, very apparent, and was like, oh crap, I need to, you know, I need to start producing the second, you know, even now. And so it was a big risk for me to enter trading. And what was so nice, and I think the first real role modeling of giving back and helping with someone was, there was this Indiana alum, Dan Aaron, who was, he was pretty high up at a big hedge fund, and he would help the students at the Wall Street program at Indiana University so much. He would help us prepare for interviews. He would help us with, you know, getting the ins, the networking, everything. And I ended up with a couple job offers, and he viewed prop trading as very risky, especially because he was so from the institutional side. Nevertheless, he knew I was passionate about it. He understood why I wanted to do it. And so he let me go out on my own. And when I was struggling at Trillium, which, you know, it really took me a year and a half, 2 years to start to break out, I didn't think I was going to make it. There was a lot of dark days. And what was so nice is he offered this support net for me, right? So when I was struggling and I had to start interviewing at other places because, you know, I had student loans, I had bills to pay, it just didn't look like it was going to happen. I knew that I had this safety net where this man was so kind to very selflessly help me out with other interviews. And I knew that if I fall, I'm going to be able to land on my feet and end up at another job. And that was really empowering for me. And that gave me the runway to give that full tuition to the markets and end up staying long enough that the rest is history.
Do you feel like your upbringing and your childhood and the way your parents raised you had an influence on how you view charity now?
Totally. I mean, I think most of all, it made me hungry for success and hungry to not want to struggle like they did. And then ultimately, once you're fortunate enough to achieve these things, you are then in a position to give back and help others. And so one question that I want to address that always comes up is, so many people have asked, like, oh, Lance, like, it's so easy to have that position of giving back, you know, once you've quote unquote made it. But I would argue that anybody can give back at any point in their life. right? And it's not just about giving back monetarily. That's what people tend to assume, but you can give back by volunteering. You can give back by sharing wisdom. So if you're starting to learn some things as a trader, you're a couple years in, you're not where you want to be financially, but if you help others younger than you learn faster on their learning curve, that's a way of giving back. And so like, that's kind of been my mission, is to model the different ways, right? I give back financially, I give back with my time through my nonprofit, and then I also give back by sharing wisdom. And so that's really what I try to do. And what's so heartwarming for me is to hear on Twitter and at Traders4ACause meetups how much it actually works and how much it's making an impression on other people.
I love that. I love that. And we're happy to have you as a part of Traders for a Cause. It's certainly been a great few years since we met, and we can take this thing to new heights, I hope.
I was speaking with a trader last night, and I'm not provoking these conversations. He's initiating it, and he's telling me what that role modeling has done for him. And what's so special is he's telling me how much it's impacted him and his life. And it's really, really nice to hear that at all levels, it really makes a difference.
It's awesome. So we've talked in the past about a concept that you brought up about trying to be 1% better every day. Can you talk about what that means to you and how you implement that in your life?
Yep. And so I think most people will use that concept and apply it to their trading as I did. And for some background, my first many, many years of trading, I would have a note card by my bed, and every single night before bed, I would not go to sleep until I came up with 3 ideas to be 1% better the next trading day. It could be a small layout change. It could be a small news article I needed to read. It might have been a new trade idea. But I would not allow myself to go to bed until I found 3 ideas to be that little bit better. But then eventually, like, trading for me was this microcosm of like, not just how can you constantly refine yourself at this little game, but it also applies to life, right? So now, as I've stepped away a little bit from the trading game, it's like, how can I get 1% better in all areas of my life? How can I be that 1% healthier? How can I be that 1% happier? How can I have 1% better relationships? How can I give back and make a difference 1% more? And what's been so nice is like, I think people reverse the logic and they see people like Nate, people like Bella, people like Lucas as being these amazing networkers that are always giving back. And they're saying, oh man, these people are able to give back because of what they've accomplished. But it's the wrong logic. These people were able to accomplish so much because of their mindset of sharing, and their mindset of having excess that they can give to others. And I see so much on Twitter, the scarcity mindset of, oh, I don't want to share my trade write-ups. I don't want to share my trade ideas. I don't want to form a pod because others might not be experienced as me. And ultimately what that mindset does, even if they don't realize it, it's holding them back. And the biggest people I've seen, the most successful people I've seen, they're people that just intuitively get that they're going to be able to jump higher when they're operating on a team of others lifting each other up. We rolling, they hating, patrolling and trying to catch me riding dirty.
That's all we want in the
You
video.
gotta dub the music in the back, otherwise I look like an idiot.
I want 35 minutes of Lance doing that. Lance, do you feel that early on in your career that your priorities were different than they are today?
Oh, 100%. And I think anybody, really everyone, as life changes, your values are going to change with it. Your priorities are going to change with it. And of course, like, as your skill level and everything else, like, the big change, of course, is people start to have kids and family. That's where you see a lot of traders start to say, hey, there's something way more important to me now in life than the market. And balancing that act and just balancing, I think, just relationships and a social life and everything else. So totally.
So you feel like early on in your career, you dedicated so much time to the craft that the other parts of your life kind of had to take a backseat.
Oh, totally. Like, I think to have success at this job, you need to be so all in and one track minded. And like, yes, you need room to recharge and recover and everything, but I'm sure anyone will tell you they are just all in psychologically. It's all they're thinking about. They're going to bed thinking about the charts, the trades, what they could have done better. You need that level of dedication. And I think I said this on another interview, but what people don't realize is in the pro prop world, we tell people it's a 2-year learning curve. And that's going full-time with mentorship, with all the resources you could ever imagine, and putting in a ton of hours and like all this great feedback, all this great stuff, best technology. And for all the part-time traders, when they embark on this journey, you need to recognize if you're putting in part-time hours, your quality of study, your quality of hours won't be at the same level. And it's going to take you so many years to make it happen. And that's fine. There's a lot of people that started part-time and made it happen, but you just need to know what you're going in for.
Understood. Tell me a little bit about your time at Trillium. I know that like Trillium is, they play their cards close to the chest. They keep everything kind of under wraps, but like, tell me how you found them, how you how you started, how you got out of the gates with them.
Sure. So I think there's really a lot of different types of trading, right? You can go into something that's more programmer based, something more quantitative, something more hedge fundy, right? You have everything from Jump to Citadel to D.E. Shaw to Jane Street. And the reality is I didn't have a lot of those super technical skills. My whole belief was like, I think I can just outwork people and, decent smarts, decent math, but I'm just going to be able to outcompete. And the beauty of day trading and intraday trading and all that stuff is that's really what a lot of it is, right? You're not doing rocket science, but you're trying to make the best decision really, really fast. And a lot of that comes from repetitions, right? And so what I'm always telling traders to do, and this comes up in like a lot of the SMB meetings, is you need to get as many reps and just improve that processing speed, right? It's like the first time you drive a car. It's overwhelming. You've got all this information coming at you. Your RAM, your mental RAM is like maxed out. But the more you get those repetitions in, eventually once you're driving around your neighborhood, you can almost do it with your eyes closed, which I don't recommend. But like the point is you start to process all these things better. And so
would you say trading is a game of quick decision making?
Depending your time frame, the speed that I was doing it, part of my edge was I was the quickest processor probably in the world, or at least one of them, right? Because there's only so much volume going off. But I think for some people, if you're trading, swing trading, and making decisions based on hours or days, you can do a much slower level of decision. But it comes at a trade-off, I think, where I think what you gain in scalability and slowness of decision, you lose like what effectively was the opportunity for my competitive advantage, right? Like I was doing so many reps to be able to make those decisions so much faster than the rest. So like, part of that is once I recognize that speed is a factor and your RAM, mental RAM is a factor, I recognize like, hey, this is something I can beat the competition at just from going again and again and again and again. And like I talk about that in a video of the highlight reel, and people don't understand that on some of those top plays each month, I would have this database on my hard drive for years worth of all the best opportunities. And then on the weekends, I would just be replaying them again and again and again. Well, while everyone is binge watching Netflix, I'm binge watching the top plays for the week. And you just recognize all those details faster, more accurately, and it allows you to make better decisions.
When you have talked in the past about this, you've made it very clear that having support, having mentorship is so imperative to succeeding at the craft. When you were at Trillium, did you have a lot of access to the outside trading community, or was it pretty much all internalized?
It was very, very insular there. They wanted to keep everything close to their chest. I did have a mentor, my boss who trained me, and without a mentor, I can say I would have stood nearly zero chance of success. I would not have made it. Hands down, if someone was not steering me in the right direction, I wouldn't have made it. And like, I think like, look, people might say, hey Lance, this whole concept of giving back, like, that's not for me. It's too, whatever, woo woo. Like, I don't buy it that giving back is a form of gratitude and it'll make me feel better. If you don't buy that, fine. These events are worth it just simply for the network. And what's so amazing is the amount of people that still keep in touch with me and they say, hey Lance, I formed my trading pod of the people I trade with from Traders4ACause Vegas. I formed my trading pod from last year's happy hour. And so to know now that we sold out this Chicago event in a matter of days, I'm so happy because what that event offers is not just a fun time and helping a good cause, but it's allowing people to build that network so they can become better, right? And so whether you buy into the concept or not, you're doing good as a result of also doing good for yourself. So now we're taking Zach and you all to Shoko. It's a Rick Bayless restaurant, and I think Rick Bayless really put some top-notch Mexican food on the map in Chicago. They're known for their tortas, their churros, and we're gonna show Zach what they've got.
Can't wait. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So here we are at Shoko, the famous Rick Bayless restaurant. A really great staple for Mexican tortas and other awesome things. This one is the Cubana, and it has some like amazing, just thick cut smoked bacon on here. We're gonna see what you like. All their salsas are incredible. Give you the old money shot there. Like it is a beauty.
Ooh, that is beautiful. Little crunch action.
There goes nothing, my friends.
Damn.
That bacon's so good. Yeah, it's so rich and like you get the smoky flavor. There's some type of crema on there. It's amazing. Where else can you pick something up like that? Like just such an awesome sandwich.
Very pronounced, like smoky spice. Has a very intense flavor.
To cut some of the smoky richness, we've got their famous churros and their chocolate sauce. Low calorie, of course.
Great for a sugar-free diet.
We're gonna rip a little bite of this guy off and for a little dunka hunka.
Oh my God.
That's good shit.
That should be illegal.
It's not like normal churro breading. It's like, it's more almost
It's like a corn
like
flavor.
it's like cornmeal tamale-esque churro, rather than just like being like a funnel cake dough.
I would say this is some of the most unique Mexican food I've ever had.
I mean, outside Mexico, I don't know where you're gonna get tortas like that. I just don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a flavor explosion is a great way to describe it.
Yep.
Lance, thanks so much for this lovely boat tour of Chicago. Appreciate it.
It's been a total blast.
By the way, who's driving this thing?
Usually got my buddy Captain Chris, but I think he called out today.
Really? So who is it?
Beats me.
Hey guys, I'll be doing it today.
Hey, it's Nate.
You do have your boating license, correct?
Actually, no boating licenses in Illinois.
It's a free-for-all.
It's a free-for-all.
So, Traders4ACause Chicago. First regional event.
Yeah.
I mean, and it sold out in a week. We had no idea what the demand was going to be. We have 50 people that are all, I mean, there's people coming from out of state for a
It's
happy
actually
hour.
pretty neat because we did the San Diego meetup, and one of the guys had driven an hour or two to come,
Yep.
and then we did the New York City, and he flew.
You
Come
flew
to
from
that one.
California
Oh, yeah.
to New York.
So it's pretty neat just to kind of, like what Lance was saying a little bit earlier, just soak up everything that you can and network as best you can. So great example of that. But no, this is going to be exciting, especially as we lead up into the event this year in Vegas. Hopefully we get some, or at least inspire some new people to come out there and check out the grand event.
For sure.
But it's always good just to meet up with traders and see these people that you literally talk with every single day, but never meet. You only know their, online alias.
Yeah.
So it's neat to kind of share stories and talk in person and really get to learn a little bit more about that person.
Absolutely. It's all about the fellowship, right?
If you're a retail trader, it can be like a very isolated, insular journey where you think you're all on your own. And I think it's just so nice knowing that there's a real world out there and putting the faces to the names. And I think connections just build so much more when you know the personalities, the people, the faces. And even I've been so fortunate to meet people, whether it was from the S&B Sleep Challenge or from last year's happy hour. And you stay friends with those people for a long, long time, and it builds community. And I think that's what this is all about. Here we are at Ramen Sun, one of my favorite local restaurants. amazing ramen, amazing express lunch, and some of the best wontons in chili oil. And even better, they've got ice cold beers and frozen mugs. So we're gonna do this.
Let's rock it. That's perfect. This is exactly what I thought.
Beautiful.
Love when I can read your eyes.
So these look like golf pencils, but they're fully edible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, what do we got here, Lance?
So we are doing these pork belly bao buns, and you know our love for dumplings. We're doing their kind of just Szechuan chili oil wonton dumplings, which are super amazing.
Oh my goodness.
So these are thick cut pork belly. You got the little pickle, you got the aioli. They're incredible. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna rip this guy in half. Maybe not too easily. This was a bad
You
idea.
could have cut it with a chopstick.
I'm going to stop. What we're
us.
gonna do is take this fresh camera-ready bun, use this sharp utensil, and it's just a beautiful cross section. Zach, pleasure having you in Chicago. Little kampai for my Japanese fans out there.
Yeah, love it.
That's delicious.
Ooh, that's pleasant. Very pleasant.
And another cheers.
Cheers.
Nice pork belly. Fluffy cloud bun. So then what I do is I take a little dash of soy, drizzle it on these guys, an extra dash. This guy,
The pepper oil.
it's not that spicy.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. How good are those guys?
Amazing.
They're little just morsels of love.
Yeah, morsels of love. I like that description.
I taste a hint of just love, accepting me for who I am.
Folks, as you can see, Lance has a very special relationship with dumplings.
Some say, what is your relationship with food? And I say we're lovers.
Does it make you feel good that I'm looking up to you?
Yep, I am taller than Zach. And I'm also 6'6" on my back.
So Lance, you came to Chicago for your job with Trillium, right?
Yep,
Where did you go to school?
Indiana University.
Okay, so you were nearby, not too far off. What made you decide to stay in Chicago? What do you love about this city?
I think what I love about Chicago is you have an amazing quality of life. The apartments and real estate's super affordable. And I think the quality of life, just as far as the pace, really matches me, right? There's a lot of people doing trading, financial services, so you have a lot of really awesome industry and jobs out there. But unlike New York, where it's such a rat race and so dog eat dog and so fast paced, you can go out on a nice afternoon boat ride. You can go to City Winery or the Tap and have a nice beer on the water. And it's really the best balance, I think, of any major city. I couldn't imagine being in too many other cities out there.
There's such a good piece of our network, the Traders4ACause network that is in the Chicago area.
Yeah.
A lot of traders here.
Yep. I mean, so the beauty of Chicago, right? It's the home of the Mercantile Exchange, Board of Trade, Options Exchange. And so you have such a history of trading here, right? And starting from the days of the meat packing and the agricultural industry, that's where so much of the futures market originated, as well as a lot of the high frequency stuff too. And it's really incredible to have such an amazing city with the outdoors, the architecture. It's so lively, but you can do high finance here and have an awesome life. And I think it's just so cool where I can start my day with a jog on the Riverwalk, go by the lake, and just have this awesome community of traders around me.
What's next for Traders4ACause? What do you guys think?
More regional events, bigger Las Vegas event, but within reason, because I do think that people really enjoy the intimate feel of what we have now. But just more of that, more networking, meeting new traders, and who knows really where it goes from there. I feel like every year we meet someone new that adds a lot to the stage, and what's interesting is over the years we've had people that just come as, just people coming to listen to people speaking and learning from people that are 10, 20 years younger than you at some points. So it's been pretty neat to see it happen, and hopefully we continue to do that. Maybe we'll meet some people tonight that we didn't know about that could really, add value to.
And I think what's powerful too is exposing attendees to the power of what their contributions are accomplishing, and all the change over, it's the 10th year of Traders for a Cause, and to know what that money is going towards and all the lives it's affected.
It's actually, yesterday you had mentioned we're nearing 3 million donated, which, I think I was focused on the first million, and I hadn't really been paying attention since, but I didn't realize that we had already gotten to that.
It's been kind of,
that's an incredible
kind of
milestone.
exponential.
Wow.
Because I think about it, like what year was the breakout year? That was like not that long ago.
Yeah.
We were just hitting 1 million.
Yeah. It's just which is a proof of concept. It's accelerating at this point. So the next 3 might be even faster if we continue at this pace.
I feel like it's incredible that our organization, despite the fact that obviously first and foremost we're a charity and we're raising money, we've become kind of like a primary network, fellowship network for independent traders. And people look forward to the event almost more so for the social aspect than for the education. And it's almost like the tides have turned. Started off primarily for education. It's become more of a support system.
I think that's what it has become, in the sense that Lance went over pods and whatever you want to call this networking and picking your people, but each year it's almost like an excuse to kind of get together and see those people that you only talk with virtually.
I think the traders that sustain the longest and most successful careers, they have a very powerful why. And so that why might be that you love working with your pod and the people you've met. You might love the network. Another very powerful why the Traders for a Cause gives them is you love making a difference, right? And so for many traders, as they progress and they have their own means covered, a very powerful motivator is saying, I can make a difference in the world that means so much to others. And so Traders for a Cause really unites all those different influences together in one. Not to mention just A+ amazing education to help everyone reach those levels. What a beauty.
Folks, as a very special treat, the next segment of this video, we're gonna head back to Lance's home office. Lance and Nate are gonna break down a few recent trades and give you some insight into a pro trader's mind.
Sitting down at the trade cave.
So what are we looking at, guys?
So yeah, I guess a couple weeks ago there was a big move in TOP that we wanted to dissect. It's early May, and this really kind of peaked late April. So Nate, do you want to kind of take us away? This was April 27th?
Oh, guys, I got to take this. This is about the event tonight. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so this one there's been a series of Chinese companies that end up getting liquidated, and stocks literally go down 80% in one day. Where we had 50K, 80K share offers, so what was happening in the bid? They weren't showing anything, we were absorbing there.
What am I doing? Come on, you come on!
It kind of scared people away, and they haven't been doing it for quite some time. And so we finally had another opportunity, and this particular one set up. What happens is there's a lot of these WhatsApp Messenger, Telegram, all these different kind of groups that...
Your favorite friends.
Oh yeah, that promote the buying of these particular names. So what you see is sometimes they'll put a price level and say, hey, put a bid in at, let's just say, $650. And you'll start to see the bid go from 10K to 20K to 50K to 100K. And it's just all these buyers that are falling for it. And then eventually they just slam the bid and it unwinds. So what happens is, originally, that's all the liquidators, the people with paper selling. And then as people catch on, now most of that volume is short volume.
Yeah.
And they're not stupid. So now they know that if all the bids get hit and they didn't fill any, they know that every one of those is likely a short.
Yeah.
And so they got smart and they start to squeeze out traders that are sort of anticipating that this is going to be the next liquidation trade. So this one in particular was extremely similar to ILAG. ILAG was maybe about 6 months ago or so, and it was one of the ones that took a lot of traders out of the game, got them a little nervous of all of these, so they started to work again over the time. And this one was very similar in the sense that there was huge bids, and the SSR actually was not on, and we were talking about it a little bit earlier, but as most traders know, when the SSR is on, all the offers, they start to hug the bid. And you start to see, you basically can see the hand of the shorts, because it starts maybe a 10K offer, 20K, it starts to up. And myself included, you know, sometimes you put maybe a bigger order than you typically would want, because you're just hopeful that some of the routes, just give me 2K a 10K, give me, you know, as long as I get 10, 20% fill, I'm happy. So this particular situation, all the bids are there, they stack the offer, SSR is not on. And so they're basically playing these level 2 games, convincing you, drawing a picture that was not accurate.
Yep.
So here I am, I'm like, all right, gotta slam into the bid. Wait a minute, I just filled the whole thing. Oh, SSR is not on. So notice that, and you can see on the first kind of ramp up, it goes up and then it almost circuits down. And so that kind of once again gives this confidence that, hey, it's gonna go lower.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it did not stay heavy, that means the liquidators aren't there. And at that point, it started to go up the other way. So as soon as that happened, I recognized it, and I written in the room, I was like, ILAG 2.0, we've seen this before, and fortunately,
and so let me even pause there and dissect some of what you're saying for the audience, right? So first, as far as systemizing this stuff, you really want to find out what are all the variables involved. So commonalities. You mentioned kind of some of the sketchier Chinese recent IPOs and everything, stocks, offerings, whatever. Low floats or locked up floats.
Yep.
And so the other thing that you did, which is very powerful, is comparison by analogy. And so what really good traders always do is they have this mental database or even a physical database on Evernote or wherever else. And so what they do is when they see something like top, and whether it's something on the box or the chart pattern, you're seeing top, but your mind's really connecting all these parallels to ILAG. What I often say is when you have that experience and that intuition to draw on, when something you expect to happen doesn't, that in itself is significant. And so that awareness is what allowed you to avoid that rip and get out. And what might seem so superhuman to probably many of your followers that are new in the room, that's you knowing these nuances, knowing these variables, and being able to draw on that mental database, and then having the experience to trust your intuition.
Unfortunately, this was a learning curve for a lot of new traders that maybe hadn't experienced it before. And I think that all these scars that we take along the way, as soon as that happened, it's like, nope, I'm not going to go back to that. I've been there before. And there was also midday. What happened was, if you go, if you look, it's been kind of consolidating throughout the day around the 15 to 18 range. And midday, what happened was somebody circulated this Chinese website that basically said they had an F1 approved.
And so here's what's so important, right? Like I always tell people these nuances matter. Who has Edgar bookmarked? Who knows how to move around Edgar super, super quick, right? And that time matters in this game, right? Like if you're putting size on and you're doing that on false information that you can't verify, and that's also, we talk about trading pods, that's the benefit of having others to have your back, right? If you have size and you need help, okay, I need to get on this page quick and cover your back.
What happened is when that came out, once again, we had the same huge offer thing where we had 50K, 80K share offers, but what was happening on the bid? Nothing. They weren't showing anything, but they were absorbing every single share that came in. So when you have this huge offer enticing people to the bids look weak, but yet they're just soaking everything. What happens when that move stops going down?
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. And my thought was, this is the type that catches people off, and as you've seen more and more often probably, 330, 340, 345, when things start to swipe up, sometimes they don't open until 4 p.m.
Yep.
Then there's no liquidity.
So you need to know those market structure rules, right? Like this came up in an SMB meeting where it's so important to know all the rules of these exchanges. What are the best order types to get these prints? And when we look at this chart here, they're intraday, that consolidation, it's real tight between 15 and 20 bucks. If that breaks above 20 bucks, you need to get the hell out of that. And the thing is like, if this thing isn't going down, probably so many people were short against this 100% up move. And guess what? If that's not going down, then we break that $20 level right into the close. People are stuck. You don't have the liquidity you need after hours. And so many people are going to be so scared to be holding that overnight.
Yep. And even later on, like in the after hours session, if you go and you look, they actually made a ceiling at 120. And so they're creating a ceiling at 120, which to me and you were like, all right, there's an obvious seller there. So people start to get confident that 120 is now the top. Now they're like, all right, I'm just going to short 117 versus this 120 level, easy money, because obviously there's a clear seller.
What could ever go wrong?
Boom, offer's gone, and now everybody's down 70 bucks.
But this here's the thing, is like once that breaks out and goes 20, 30, 40 bucks after hours, you need to say, oh man, you need to take that pause and say, holy crap, price has become unhinged. This can go anywhere. And this is where risk management is so key. And people need to understand, right? When I talk about increasing your bet size, or when I talk about the more legs something moves, the better the probability of a bounce, so many people are like, oh, that's how you blow up. And it's like, no. Yeah. That's the reality. The truth is the expected value gets better. Your bet sizing and how you do that in relation to your daily loss limit, if you don't respect those rules and you don't have a loss limit, that is how you blow up, right? Objectively, if you have aces and then on the river another ace comes out, your hand got better. That is an objective truth, right? And generally you want to bet more on that. That does not mean you go all in necessarily, right? And people really conflate that. But like once this breaks, you need to be in full-on risk management mode. You need to be playing defense and being really smart about how you handle this then. So now we can talk about the next day. And again, I think you were pretty on top of this, where it was just such a nasty trap where you've pulled back so deep off highs. You get the dump off the open, and then it's just like such a big FU move.
Yeah, and that was a very big conversation point there, because a lot of people get confident by seeing the downturn, right? But I call it like a swipe risk or a swipe test, where you don't know what it's going to do on the first swipe. So yeah, sure, it's weak, it's going, but what if that's just shorts fading it down, right? And as soon as a buyer steps up the plate, then it goes into a circuit, and guess what? You have no chance until 260.
And the thing you need to recognize is when this was at above 200, when you're shorting at say 50 bucks there, what is the reward on this thing at a certain point? Like God forbid, like you can be out of the money 10, 20, 30 points in a blink, when at best you're making 30 points. Like you need to just be so careful with mean reversion in something that is broken and doing this kind of volume and is trading that thin. I want to also now dissect this May 4th move and just show traders where I think some of the easier money is. Once a lot of eyes are off it and everything else, I think that's also where things get interesting. So on May 4th, what happens is you end up with just a total kind of out of nowhere to some degree, because on the daily chart we were starting to even curl up, and then it just really breaks hard. And some traders are able to kind of hop on that bandwagon and recognize that, hey, we can't bounce. They see things on the box. And again, these are kind of like tougher plays, but the thing I really, really wanted to break down for everyone is, so later in the day, we go from $100 to 25 bucks in a straight line. So generally I use just a 50% retracement as just a rough heuristic of what a average bounce would be, right? So if we say a 50% bounce, maybe you can see something around, say, I don't know, $60 or so would be around the 50%, right? The best bounce we can do is up to $40. Look at the size of this leg, 100 to 25, we barely bounce anywhere. That is so significant, right? And so that doesn't mean I want to immediately short. I definitely, after a leg of that size, want to see consolidation. That consolidation reduces the probability of a shakeout and increases the probability of this trending cleanly. And so many people think the move's over. But the reality is this stock was coming from so much lower. You don't want to give up on these because this is the day where it is trading so clean, it's showing no sign of life. And so a lot of people will take their eyes off of it. Then when 25 breaks later in the day,
All the way down to 10.
it is a beauty and it's showing no signs of life. You can risk a point, you get these really, really tight stair steps, and you can kind of be adding very tightly. If it starts to break out, you can get the hell out of there. And it's really, I'm not even surprised whatsoever that then after hours it really cracked down to 10.
Yeah.
And I think like people will obsess studying how can I catch the crazy stuff on the crazy days when right under their nose, that is another example on May 4th of what I'd consider the easy money trade in this once a lot of the eyes and the craziness is off.
Yep, and everybody wants to nail the top. Everybody always wants to nail whatever it is, but being patient and being a little bit late is so much, and this is a perfect example. It's better to be 5, 10, 20 late than 200 too early.
Yep.
And that's one thing that's probably one of the largest changes I've made over the last 2 years is just forget about trying to nail it. Let the money change, the money flow change, and get on the same side of what's happening. And you're going to do a lot better with a lot less of these headache type trades.
And I think a lot of people get seduced by the big money stuff when, especially if you're a beginner trader, and this is all I talk about with any new trader that I've worked with, is find your easy money trades. What is the trade that makes the most sense to you? What is the little layup or free throw that you can start to piece together days for that positive feedback loop? And so one other one I want to kind of dissect is real simple. It's just in the spiders today. And this is May 10th. And this is also what I mean when I say for people to systemize the variables involved in a trade. This morning we had CPI, and so many people in like the prior years would say, oh, I don't know how to trade CPI or like this or that. And it's like, look, you can apply a lot of the same concepts to this, even if you're not trading the number and the crazy stuff. Again, you don't need to be lightning fast for this. It's a pattern that develops over minutes. And so we get the CPI break at 8:30 Eastern. Okay, forget the number. Let's not be an analyst whatsoever. Let's just listen to the chart, right? We go from 410, we go up, almost, I don't know, 0.75%. We don't retrace whatsoever. We're really, really holding up tight towards the top end of the bar. And that's like a nice consolidation. You've got a news catalyst. The volume's really, really great. And then we start to break to highs and the volume's coming back in, right? It's staying steady, increase of volume. And that's such a really easy spot to get long. You can give it to precisely to that level or even the prior bar lows. I tend to trail it with a trailing stop of prior bar lows. And you catch a nice little leg on this. And like, that's the type of trade beginning traders need to be documenting, analyzing, creating videotape of and replaying again and again.
It's just a perfect example of something, forget the long side for a minute, but what should give you pause on the short side or at least get you an exit. And that's a great example of the flip side.
Yep, and so I know people wanted to, people always want just really tangible examples and us dissecting the charts. So I think this is our little gift to you all for following Traders for a Cause and hoping to do more of these and looking forward to seeing everyone today at the happy hour.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thanks, Nate.
It's always great to get some unique insights from veteran traders. Lance and I are now headed over to the University of Chicago for the Impact Competition. I wanted to sit down briefly with the luminary who founded our worthy beneficiary, dedicated to ending gun violence in Chicago.
I'm sitting here with friend and fellow board member Lance Breitstein. Lance runs an organization called the Impact Competition. Lance, can you tell us about the Impact Competition and how you developed a relationship with Strides for Peace?
Sure. So while trading and still doing that full time, I was trying to think of what's the most effective way that I could give back. With limited means and resources, how can I have the biggest impact on the world, right? And what I really came up with is it's not about one specific cause, but it's how can you get individuals to all do their small part. And the most effective way I could think of is what I call these impact competitions. So I fund and sponsor these competitions at some of the top universities across the country, and we challenge students to solve the issues of a local nonprofit. And so me being a Chicago resident, I always dreamed of having a program at the University of Chicago for being one of the best schools in the country, and I think any Chicago resident would all agree that gun violence is top of mind for them. And specific to University of Chicago, they very, very tragically lost the life of a student a few years ago due to a random act of gun violence. And so I think both for the University of Chicago and for myself wanting a safer, better community and backyard, I really dreamed that UChicago would one day tackle the issue of gun violence and have the students propose solutions to help make their own backyard safer. And so this year really was the culmination of that, and it was so beautiful that this could also be the first in-person event post-COVID at UChicago. And so we're so lucky to have been able to partner with Maggie and Strides for Peace, because it allowed us to really fulfill my vision of helping of myself, the students, the university, and just the community find a safer, more productive solution.
Maggie, can you tell me about Strides for Peace?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here, and we're so grateful to have been the beneficiary of the generosity of Traders for a Cause. It's really meaningful for us to be able to connect to associations and professionals that we otherwise couldn't connect with, and it really helps amplify our message. So we're really grateful to be here. Thank you. Strides for Peace is a race against Chicago gun violence. We are like venture capital in that we invest in community organizations that are serving their areas that are dedicated to ending gun violence in the city of Chicago. We've funded anywhere from after-school programs to sports programs to special events that our organizations want to run, to further contributing to programs that they run all year. Really what it is we find partners. They know what they need in their communities, and so we partner with them and figure out how to amplify what it is that they're trying to do.
That's so cool. So what gave you the original inspiration to start Strides for Peace?
Well, there was a young man that was shot and killed on the CTA bus protecting his friend. His name was Blair Holt. That was in 2007. And from his story, I was really struck by it. He was on his way to school. He was protecting a friend. His parents were police officers. There's also currently a foundation in his name as well. And Blair's story just particularly struck me. And so I thought, well, what do I need to do to figure out what to get involved? I can't ask what other people are doing and sort of have this existentialist conversation. I felt like I needed to find out what was going on. We were philanthropically involved in donating and trying to understand the landscape of what is going on here. Through that process, didn't quite feel like the funds that we were giving ended with the people who were actually doing the work, boots on the ground. And so we went out to some of the most violent neighborhoods trying to understand what people were contending with, trying to understand gun violence, what is it that people need to end gun violence. And so it was through that experience of listening to different organizations. Everyone knew what they needed. There was no mystery there. People knew exactly what kind of programs they wanted. And so it was just a matter of basically getting resources plugged in to what it was they're already doing. And I remember going in being like, wouldn't that be great if people could collaborate and build bridges? And it's, it's like kind of like, no shit, that would be great. Meanwhile, you've got kids that don't know, don't have a place to go, don't have a safe environment. Their friends have been shot and killed, and people are just dealing with emergencies all the time. So the idea of building bridges, collaborating, while all that's great, everyone is in a state of emergency. So I felt like I walked in trying to talk wellness in an ER, like wrong, not where it's at. And so really being humbled and understanding that experience, and me going in with my biases and understanding like this is a whole other level of being in a state of emergency. It's just collaboration is a luxury. And so we wanted to figure out what can we do to make it easier on people without being a big lift. How can we foster people being able to build coalitions, connecting people to other resources without taking away more of their time and ask. And so that's how Strides was formed. And we describe it, like I said, in kind of a venture capital way, because we invest in people that have organizations that already know what they need. And so it's a matter of just connecting with them and supporting them.
That's awesome. And how did you two find each other specifically?
Well, Maho, who runs the undergraduate program, contacted us. And I had thought, because we do a lot of work with the University of Chicago already, and as Lance was talking about, they're in the forefront of the country of leading some of the most innovative work around gun violence through the Crime Lab and the Public Policy School and civic engagement. So I assumed that maybe they got our information from there, and then Ma had let us know that they had found us online, and we were really thrilled. And I thought the idea was so genius of what Lance was doing, where you get some of the brightest minds to kind of tackle some of these issues. And Strides, given the way that we fund our community-based organizations, which are relationship-based, not quantitative, how do you have those conversations to donors, about how do you measure your impact when you can't quite make it fit into numbers? So, because our model is a little bit non-traditional to be able to act in real time. So when we heard that we had the opportunity through Lance's platform, we couldn't believe it. And we were like, just tell us where to be. So we'll be there.
What I really think is so special about the program is it's so easy psychologically for most individuals to say, I'm not in a position where I can make a difference. I might not have the financial resources, I might not have the time, the ways, the means, and I think what's special about impact competitions is that you're empowering students. You Chicago students are busy students. They aren't billionaires. They aren't people with 80 hours a week to spare, or even 40, 30, 20 hours a week to spare. But we're showing them that in a very local and actionable manner, you can make a difference in your community. That doesn't mean solve gun violence globally. That doesn't mean change policy at a national level. But in a very small, actionable way, you can make a difference no matter who you are. And these Chicago students are finding that out in a big way.
So Lance, I've heard of competitions like this at other universities. Can you explain a little bit what makes impact competitions so unique?
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of case competitions out there, but what makes the impact competition so unique and universities so hungry for this type of programming is, first of all, unlike most competitions, it's not theoretical. This is pure reality-based, needs to be fully implementable solutions. And the other very unique part is, unlike with any other case competition I've seen, the students get the unique opportunity to actually implement the winning idea, and we provide all of that funding. So they get to make their idea a reality alongside the nonprofit and get that experience.
So cool.
Yeah, and from our perspective, having, in this case, they had 8 teams that signed up, having those teams take a look at our organization and figure out how we could be more efficient, how we could present data differently, better, tell our story better, reach more people, it's equivalent to hiring a firm that probably would have cost us, tens of thousands of dollars to kind of do a deep dive and then present some of these same ideas. To be able to get this handed to you is really a huge lift for a small organization.
Absolutely.
So we're really excited about it.
Well, thank you all. If anybody wants to cash this, feel free to.
The impact competition presentations were truly inspirational, and sampling food from some of Lance's favorite Chicago restaurants was a culinary adventure. The next stop is Bar Cargo, where the Traders for a Cause Chicago meetup gets underway.
So I'm sitting here with Jeremy. Tell me a little bit about what you like to do to give back.
We first started with last year's Traders for a Cause event. Just, when we were in Vegas, I had an opportunity to donate then. Did some for a fun cause for myself. And now, the more people I can meet through this event, hopefully I can, find some guys that I can help, mentor and work through the process as well too.
I like to help mentor the younger kids from the areas where I grew up at, so one of the things I like to do is just try and be like that guiding voice, and just try and provide more possibilities as to what life can be opposed to, the normal that may be expected.
So I'm here with Sasha. Sasha, tell me what charity means to you. What does it mean to give back?
I am originally from Ukraine,
Okay.
so charities right now, it's a
Very
big
important.
thing, very important, yes. That's what makes you happy, right? That's the point of everything.
Yeah, give
to
back and feel good
yeah.
about yourself.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you for being here in Chicago, and I hope to see you at future events.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Traders for a Cause Chicago was a huge success. By the end of the event, we had raised nearly $5,000 for Strides for Peace.
As the sun sets in the Windy City, I want to thank you all for joining Traders for a Cause Chicago on our great adventure. Thanks to Lance for showing us his favorite restaurants, and for Maggie from Strides for Peace for showing us the great work that they do. Until next time, trade, profit, and make a difference, and we'll see you soon.